Well Smart's science fiction shoe phone from like 1963. You know, where he takes off the phone and there's like a dial in the heel and he puts it on his head and he, you know, and you know, there are elements of postmodernity to it, I guess, but there are precursors of that particular kind of gizmo that are in popular culture for a long time. And people do hide stuff in shoes. I mean, prisoners have been hiding stuff in shoes forever and a day. So, I mean, besides Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, who single-handedly made the rest of us take off our shoes in airports for, you know, however long that we're going to be doing that. You know, really kind of an interesting gesture. The guy didn't even have to die to do it. But he's the reason we now ceremonially strip in these terror spaces.
Okay. Last question.
I might support the stiletto by remembering Freud, like the trio in that picture. There's his work on the uncanny.
Yes, the unheimlich. Yeah.
So, but that's already been done.
That's what we heard.
You know, I'm wondering if there's a temporal unheimlich. You know, I mean, maybe the atemporal is actually a temporal unheimlich. You know, because it does have an element of the uncanny. I mean, I included that one picture in particular that was utterly banal because I don't think the uncanny is the definitive element. But you know, unheimlich means unhome-like. It's just something that doesn't fit within our idea of living in the universe as our home. It's like an intrusion, you know, a Tommy knocker or a poltergeist or a zombie is unheimlich. And is there something untimely? You know, and is an allophile temporally unheimlich? You know, it sort of can't be temporally domesticated and made to fit within our understanding of temporal process.
I couldn't help thinking all the time about semiotics is, you know, like the next stage of that.
Yeah.
How could that develop?
Well, you know, there was a period of Cranbrook. I mean, the Cranbrook period of semiotic product design. You know, and I used to hang out with Cranbrook people, you know, at the time and later. So I'm very familiar with the semiotics of objects. And, you know, you can get some places with that, but it also is sort of a fallen vogue. You know, I mean, Memphis has got a lot of semiotic stuff going on. Those teapots, which, you know, are sort of flying in the face of use value. You know, but, you know, trying to observe a Barthian language of signs, you know, doesn't, you could use it to go into some interesting spaces, but I'm not sure that's, first of all, it's not the only way to do that, and, you know, and it's not a permanent way to do it. It isn't really, you can use it to make yourself into a Memphis-style anomaly, but you don't really revolutionize, you know, it's not like a permanent, it's just like a frame, you know, it's one frame among many possible frames. And, you know, if you talk to people in design about semiotic design now, they look at you as someone musty. Well, you know, been there, done that. What are you bringing to the table? You know, just seems dated, like talking about the space age.
Okay, one more.
This one.
Hi.
I was thinking, what would you consider as an atemporal aspect of the human body? Like, I was thinking of maybe tattoos or genetics or maybe plastic surgery.
Well, you know, I would guess there are some atemporal human bodies, probably guys like the, you know, peat monster guy, mummies. You know, mummies, or, you know, Utsi, the alpine mummy, who's, you know, frozen in a glacier for 6,000 years, and they're like looking at his stomach contents, and, you know, I mean, he's just sort of present there as a physical anomaly, a guy who should have been decayed for several millennia, who was mistaken at the time for a murder victim, you know, and is really pretty fresh, you know. I mean, he was, you know, the ice really kept the guy, and, you know, I mean, we know more about him and his life than we do about maybe a couple of thousand years, you know. And he's really, you know, we've been studying him for 14 years, and we keep finding out new stuff about the guy. I mean, they've done like all kinds of high-tech interventions on his body and studied him. I mean, they've NMR scanned him, they've CAT scanned him, they've done genetic stuff. He's not genetically related to anybody in Europe. His line actually went extinct. Kind of interesting. They've examined all his artifacts. I mean, he really is kind of a man out of time. You know, I think the question you're asking is, are there atemporal aspects of our own bodies? And, you know, I don't really know. I mean, maybe. I mean, if you were a body modification guy, could you atemporalize yourself? I don't know. I mean, how? The question has never occurred to me. It might make an interesting art project. I mean, maybe you could like be a woman and, you know, engage in some tight lacing, and then you'd have like the wasp waist of the Victorian woman, but in a contemporary time, and maybe that would be an atemporalized thing to do. Or
could an organ that no longer had a function, like an appendix, be considered atemporal?
Well, you know, I don't think so, because I really think atemporality is an artistic sensibility. It's not like, you know, a trilobite, you know, a living fossil. It's more about what we expect.
Using itself and not using itself at the same time. So there's a type of dual temporality. If it's no longer in use.
Well, you know, I kind of hate to go there, because, you know, science fiction writers absolutely love crap like evolution. But, you know, there's a work which I think might have some traction in that issue, which is Stephen Jay Gould's book on evolution, where Gould argues that evolution is not destined, and that it's basically has large jumps and gaps in it, and also that it's contingent rather than progressive, right? In other words, life arose, you know, 4 billion years ago, more or less, and then we also had like 5 major extinctions that clearly derailed whatever was going on evolutionarily and kind of wiped the board clean, you know, and then allowed entire new classes of animals and plants to arise and just sort of broke the back of any evolutionary historical continuity. And he makes an argument that if you ran back the tape of time at the beginning and started evolution over again, you would get a radically different result every time. That we're not sort of the human crown of creation, we're just sort of a historical accident. In the 2 million years that we've been here, but basically because dinosaurs were hit by asteroids and there were like 4 other things going on. Okay, now that's kind of a harsh way to look at things, but I think time will favor that analysis, and the reason I think so is because we're in the 6th great extinction right now. I mean, stuff's going to start dying all around us, and we're going to be very aware that we've kind of broken the thread of evolution, and, you know, much more so than sort of notions of post-humanity or transhumanity, the fact that we're living in a massive extinction of other living life forms is going to break our sense of connection to, you know, a naturalist narrative. And we're going to feel very alone and sort of weirdly isolated in that circumstance, and it's pretty much sure to breed some kind of new cultural sensibility.
Okay.
Right.